should be recognized. So that's what I'm saying.
Oh wow, that is powerful. Thank you so much for sharing. Daniella, do you want to go next?
Yes, sure. Hi everyone. Ooh, it's loud. Wow, sorry. It is very loud. Oh, I'm loud. I'm not one of the two. Either the mic is loud or I'm loud. Combination. Hi, my name is Daniella Ajala. As Ellen had said, I am the CEO at Spleet Africa. I guess I'll do a bit of an introduction of who Spleet, what Spleet is if you've not heard of it before. We are a property technology company, and what we're doing essentially is leveraging technology to be able to provide affordable, flexible payments for rent. In countries across Africa, rent is paid annually, sometimes 2 years in advance. And so what we've said is, in other parts of the world, people are able to make flexible payments. How do we build so that we can have that same structure that exists in this part of the world? And so we'll be doing that. So it's seamless payments for rent, essentially. That's what we're doing. And we're doing that for about over 6 years now. So yeah, that's what we do. Thank you. So when the question is, how are we building for Africa? As you will know, the housing, sector in Africa, and let's even bring it to where we are right now, Nigeria, is a tough, very, very tough market. There are issues with, supply, affordability. There are really big, gigantic issues that need to be broken down into smaller pieces to be solved. Essentially, what we are trying to do is we're saying, okay, how can we be a bit of a middleman, and how can we bridge those issues? One of the big issues, and the reason why people want to collect, landlords, homeowners, property managers want to collect annual rent, is trust, mistrust. There's a big issue with trust. They cannot trust that if you pay 2022 rent, you renew and pay 2023 rent. They'd rather just say, let me just collect my 1 year up front, so even if it defaults by a couple of months, I still have that 1 year. As opposed to if I'm saying I'm collecting monthly rent, you default in February, I'm chasing you in March, you don't pay until June. That it's those sorts of issues. So we are very specific in saying, okay, let's look at the issues. Let's see why the industry and the segment is so fragmented. How do we solve for that? How do I solve for bridging trust? Okay, let me collect as much information as possible. Let me verify this tenant. Let me say, okay, let me see your BVN, your identity. Let me do checks against you. Give me your passport, give me your NIN number. Those sorts of things. Let me do affordability checks for you. So by the time we start to automate these processes and collecting information and making both parties feel safe, the owner of the property, also the person that's renting, it kind of helps us. So essentially what we do is we're saying, okay, let's look at the nuances that exist in our environment. Africa is very different. On the continent, it's very different, and it's different in even different parts of Africa. What you need to do in Nigeria is not what you're going to do in South Africa and things like that, because there are different infrastructure gaps. So you have to solve for the particular place you're serving. So there's a lot of understanding the market you're in and then answering the question. It isn't a simple copy and paste phenomenon. It's not something that, it works like this in Germany, so it will work like that in Nigeria. It doesn't work like that. We have to think about critically, what is it that can work and what can scale? It's really, it's nuanced. Even lending behaviors are very different here than they are in the Western world. So we critically look at, okay, how do people's faiths, how do people's beliefs, culture, how do those things drive the relationship they have, and then we can think about that and building for us. So that's my answer.
Thank you so much, Daniella. Thank you for shedding light on that. So definitely in Africa, when they say that is Nigeria a real place, it is for real, we're asking the real questions. Yes. All right, Furo, what is it like?
All right. My name is Furo. Okay. So I'm the head of account management at Smile ID, and basically what we do at Smile ID is enable individuals to prove their identity. So businesses like Spleet are trying to get users on board. Smile ID will be behind the scenes, just ensuring that as an individual, I can prove that I am who I say I am. So in Nigeria, for instance, that will be leveraging your BVN, your NIN. In South Africa, it might be your green book. So to Daniella's point, it is very important that we understand that Africa is not homogeneous. Each market on the continent has its different nuance, and it's important that as you're building, you're paying attention to the realities in each market. So for us, or for me, like when I think about building on the continent, it's very important that you pay attention to local realities. In the identity space specifically, you'll find that a lot of international players come into the market with their nice, snazzy solutions that have worked in America and the US and America and the US, America and the UK and in Germany or wherever, and they come to Africa and they want to ask people to take videos to confirm their identity, but they forget that we have bandwidth issues. They don't realize that we also have issues with the quality of devices on the continent. So it's important that in building for the continent, you understand that each market, first of all, is very different, and then on the continent, there are specific local realities that need to be considered as you're building.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, so I'm lead product manager at Quidax, which is a digital assets exchange that allows individuals and businesses to invest and trade and custody different types of digital assets. So in my own reality, one thing I've learned about building for Africa is that our concerns in Africa are very unique. So as a product manager, it's easy for you to, carry out case studies of products abroad, maybe like savings, investment, home banking products, and want to implement those things within the African market. But then we realize that there are a number of nuances and things that are different, so you have to really tailor your solution to the African market. For example, if you wanted to set a transaction limit, you need to consider a number of factors like the earning power, the minimum wage in Nigeria, in Africa, for you to set something like that. For example, you can't set transaction limit of $300 for the lower band, right? Because the minimum wage in Nigeria is somewhere around $30, right? So that would be, just very outrageous. So a number of those considerations need to be made when you're building products. Testing, ensuring that you factor in a lot of things and you're not making assumptions, because that's also super important. It's very easy for us to have this bias or, just make assumptions because of our reality outside of Africa. But we need to come back and be on the ground, So ensuring that you're grounded when you're building products in Africa is super important.
All right, thank you so much, Ebube. So, Debbie, I have a quick question for you. You have built a platform that influences sports culture in Africa. And what are some of the biggest leadership lessons you've learned in scaling a media business that resonates with a broad African audience?
Okay. So leadership lesson. Apart from sports media, anybody in business knows that you need to be tough, you need to be resilient. No 2 days are the same. Some days I have a nice week on and I'm at a speaking engagement. Some days I'm literally looking at the diesel level. Some days you're hustling normal. It's different things. So the first thing is that if you're going to think of scaling any business, you have to really ask yourself, why do you want to scale? Why do you want to expand? Why are you even doing this? Because you can very easily lose your why. Brilla is a 22-year-old company, and we have seen companies come and go. And the honest truth is we don't see many people that are like Brilla because it's very tough to be Brilla. And I'm not saying this in terms of bragging because I walk the shoes daily. Also, times and seasons change. Industries are forever evolving. But the core is that your value and your why must never change. So you can change your medium. E.g., we started off as purely a radio station. We did that for about 10, 15 years before I joined the business. And then we moved to digital. Now we're moving into more events, more AI. And so the thing is, even though we're still leveraging sports storytelling, the way in which we tell those stories has changed. So you stick to your core, you stick to your why, but then you can adapt based on your audience. I hope I answered that.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Thank you so much. And okay, so I was going to. Oh, well, Daniella, since you have the mic,
I don't have to have it.
you're good. Housing is a fundamental need, and Spleet is tackling affordability and access. So, what does it take to scale such a business, solving a critical local problem?
It's a tough, very, very tough market. What does it take? I think, first of all, I think it takes a lot of, I think you mentioned it, resilience. I guess I'll give practical things that it takes. I think it takes resilience. You will find that there's a lot of pushback. When something is being done in a certain way since inception or for the longest time, when you're then trying to build it out or scale it, you are going to have people that are like, I don't understand. It may be inefficient in the way they've done it. It's not as if it's the most efficient way they've done it, but because they're used to doing it that way, they will always push back and they will always struggle. So one of the things you have to do as an individual or a person working in that is just have to be used to hearing no and keep pushing, like pushing back and just taking up, getting used to hearing no, but also pushing back boundaries and pushing back and saying, no, this can be done differently. Another challenge I've seen is low adoption, so tech adoption, right? I've sat in front of, stakeholders, landlords, people that have, quite a few units, and I'm telling them how my platform and how my technology can help them in managing their properties. And they're saying, I want to be able to see the tenants. If I cannot see this person, I'm not interested. I don't want somebody who will just go, I've checked, you say you've done the verification, but sometimes you need to be able to feel the person to know who is your father, who is your mother. And this is, true story. I've had people that have come to the office and they want to be able to, because they want to make sure that, this one I'm paying online for this thing. If someone runs away with my money now, so we live in a very low trust society, right? So adoption can be slow, right? It's not, there's a lot of education and re-engineering of people's minds in order for you to really see the scale you're trying to see. And that takes time, So to my first point, resilience, education around technology, visibility. I think for me, things like this, having these conversations, having these open forums where we're sitting down and having intimate conversations and we're sharing our experiences, our challenges, and everyone is just saying, okay, this is, you're not alone in this, and also just rubbing minds. It really helps with trying to grow and scale and understand. So those are the sort of practical things I would say is useful for that.
Thank you so much, Daniella. It's a good thing that I'm the moderator, so I can ask my own question whenever I want to. I don't have to wait for. Because you mentioned something, and I'm like,
I've already passed
she
said it's the person that's asking. I'm joking.
You're all building for Africans solving issues, and it's more of a general question. So you spoke about how we need to re-educate people, low adoption causes low trust. But then the problems are real, right? So how is it that as Africans, our problems have not made us open up to these solutions? Because it's like, and let me use your solution or your market as a renting Lagos is, you need a gun to be able to pay. So it's now ridiculous to have decent housing. Even the not so decent houses are shaking. They're up there. And then you're thinking, how can I lead this, right? But then you have a solution that says you don't have to have all these millions to live here. How about you pay monthly, right? How about you pay quarterly? How about you split an apartment with someone that allows you to live closer to where you work? Because again, using Lagos, it's that you're working somewhere else and you're commuting for 2 hours to get to work. So this solution exists. So why is it that our sufferness is not enough to re-educate us, right? But what do we think that is? And this is even generally. So you spoke about AFCON and someone speaking that way and then thinking, but this sport is ours. The likelihood of you getting stardom or being famous by playing for international bodies is way less. But you can get into AFCON, you can play for your country, you can play for your state, you can keep going higher. So why is it that we're not seeing our problems and actively participating in the solutions? So just, yeah.
Okay, so I'll speak for the question you asked me directly. Firstly, I think we're used to suffering, and I think we like suffering low-key. And I guess it's the devil you know is better than the angel you do. Like, I know that this is what it is. Because we've done questionnaires and we've done these kind of gone out and engaged with people, focus groups, all these sort of things. And we're asking people like, oh, wouldn't you love to pay your rent monthly? And everyone's like, no, I want to pay for the year. Because in their mind, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. If, at least if I paid my rent for the year and I lose my job in 2 months, I know that I have somewhere to sleep at night. But if you're saying that I'm going to be doing a percentage of my my monthly rent, there's a bit more, instability there. So there's that element. We live in a very volatile economy. That's the truth. There's a lot of ups and downs. But even aside from that, there is also an element of these things take time. Like, I'll give you an example. You can have someone today who is like, oh my gosh, no, don't give me that monthly rent thing. I want to pay my rent annually. No problem. Your rent is, say, 500K for the year. And then your landlord comes tomorrow and says, no, this year, it's not 500K, it's 750K. But you have been banking on paying 500K, right? So you're thinking, where am I going to get this extra 250K from? One of the options we have is that you can borrow from us, so rent financing. You can borrow from us and you can make up the shortfall. So you haven't come in saying you want to pay monthly rent. However, we're giving you a solution to a shortfall for your rent. So you come and said, okay, I have my 500K, I need an extra 250K. Can I borrow from this company to be able to finance the rest of whatever is the balance of whatsoever is left? And you're willing to take the chance on the extra 250K. So you do it, and it works, right? Once you've executed it that one time, number one, you become an evangelist. I've done this thing, and it actually works. So you have 10 friends who are in a similar situation, and you tell those 10 friends. And naturally, things go, the information trickles on. Experience, I would say, and referrals is one of our big sellers. Or I guess marketing, do you know what I mean? Like, because when someone has experienced something and has worked for them, there's an element of like, okay, I can trust this. I can actually say, it works. I can tell my friends and say, this thing works. Let me see how it can work for you as well.
All right. Maybe do you want to add? No pressure. No pressure at all. Like I said, this is very chill. Yeah? Okay. So talking about low adoption industries, let me move to Ebube. So crypto adoption in Africa is on the rise, but still faces trust and regulatory challenges. As a product leader, how do you navigate these barriers while building scalable financial products?
All right, so the whole regulatory hurdle is actually like a big challenge in crypto, especially crypto in Africa, because regulation is very uncertain in this part of the world. So I've worked in the Web3 space for 6 years now, building and scaling products. And I've been here for some of the toughest seasons we've had in the Web3 space. So I'll say that one of the things that have helped me personally has been like building with other really smart people. Right? So when you're not doing something difficult alone, you're doing it with other people, it does help. And secondly, I think I should have even mentioned this one first. It's a strong belief in the future of this industry and the problem that Web3 solves in the world. I'm a very, very big believer. I'm a huge believer. That's why I've stayed in this industry for this long. I'm very passionate about Web3, solutions we're building, how it is changing the world, what the future would look like with Web3 in its ideal state, right? So, I think that has been an important factor, facing all of the challenges that have come, my way as a product leader in this industry, from the crypto ban to other factors, to people not really trusting you because they're like, oh, this is crypto, it is used for scam. I'll lose all my money, right? And there's a lot of bad PR about crypto and Web3 on the internet and everywhere. So it's really difficult building this industry, but a strong belief, deep understanding of what Web3 is all about, the problem it solves, the opportunities it provides, and even for us in this part of the world, because our needs are very, very unique, right? We really do need Web3, and I see it, how it's changing Africa, how it will even change Africa in the future, right? And it has helped me, stay through, all of the challenges I've seen in this industry.
Thank you so much, Ebube. My question to you is, should I buy the deep?
No, not financial advice. I
don't want to know if I should buy the deep.
But I think one advice I'll give you is stick with the safer coins. Don't mess with meme coins that are just launched on Dex Screener, Phantom Wallets. Please avoid them. Don't invest in Melanie. Don't invest in Trump. Those are extremely high risk assets. Invest in utility coins that have high market caps, from like Bitcoin, Solana. Just go to CoinMarketCap, download CoinMarketCap, research the top 10, 15 coins, and please invest with an amount that will not keep you up at night. Yeah, but yeah, buy the deep, not financial advice.
Thank you so
Disclaimer.
much. You're very not financial advice, but buy the deep, guys. Wink, wink. Okay, Furo, moving on to you. Trust and identity verification are at the heart of Africa's digital economy. What lessons have you learned about scaling a tech solution that balances security with accessibility? And how do you ensure it meets the needs of such diverse and fast-growing markets?
Okay, that's a heavy, long question. Okay, I think the first thing, and it's the theme that everyone here has spoken about, is trust. I think what we're really trying to solve for is trust. And so we basically enable individuals to prove their identity and then get access to these different platforms to be able to get access to whatever service they're trying to get access to. So one of the biggest challenges that we've seen is just trust in terms of, from our partners' perspective, and when they're trying to push users to provide a selfie, for instance, they're like, why do you need my picture? But it's like, we need your picture to be able to verify that the identity card that you provided is actually yours, or that the NIN number that you provided in a Nigerian context is actually yours. We've seen that in certain markets. I think one of the biggest challenges that we've had is currently today, at least at Smile ID, I think we have access to database access in maybe 6 African markets. So that would be Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, Zambia, South Africa, Ghana. I think Ghana is online, Cote d'Ivoire. But most other markets, there's no existing database access, right? And so we have to leverage documents. But then leveraging documents means that there's a new gamut of fraud that comes into that, because we're seeing a lot of AI generated spoofs and AI generated documents. And so we have to do the hard work of ensuring that those documents don't get through, right? So if somebody wants to onboard in Zambia, if you ever look at the Zambia registration certificate, it's one of the most difficult documents to verify because it's done with a typewriter. The information is not in the same, like the text is not in the same place all the time. If they make a mistake, they cross it over, and yeah, it's a very messy document, but people need to be onboarded in Zambia to get access to loans or get access to a bank account. And so we need to ensure that if our partners say, I want to onboard 100,000 people in Zambia every month, we need to make it happen for them. So basically, I think the things that I've learned are that first, each market's a bit different. And the real thing that we're solving for is trust. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Furo. So, I mean, from what you've said, especially with identity verification across Africa, it feels like Nigeria is leading. I mean, we have BVN and NIN. So, I mean, I just feel like there's a win for us.
Yes, yes. And so to be very fair to Nigeria, BVN and NIN are quite stable services. There's some, obviously, there's some noise in there which I won't go into, but yeah, Nigeria is truthfully leading there. I think the other markets that will be leading maybe like South Africa and Kenya, but yeah.
Wow.
A win is a win.
Yes.
Thank you so much, ladies. So here at Fincra, we're all about building the Rails for an integrated Africa. And in your industries, what do you believe is the next big opportunity for Africa's growth? And how can we ensure that women are the forefront of shaping it? So let me give a bit more context to when I say here at Fincra, we believe that we're building the Rails for an integrated Africa. Is that we believe that trade is at the heart of what is going to change Africa. And if things are going to change in Africa via trade, then the transactions for that trade should be made easy. So like Gideon gave context when he was speaking, we're thinking you should be able to facilitate trade in Cote d'Ivoire without having to think so strong. You know, we say the big issue with Africa is that we change to dollars to transact within ourselves. But what if there's a platform that allows me to move Naira to cities without thinking twice, or Naira to Kenyan shillings without having to go through a medium? What if there's a process or a platform that facilitates that trade? And when we look at some of the things that built the great America, is trade, right? Mm-hmm. And then when you think of the rails in America, really the railway station built all that America is, right? And when you think of, that was connectivity. So we are thinking we might not build the rails in terms of moving trains and products, but we can build the rails that moves money across Africa to facilitate inter-African trade and make it easy for people to move products and services across Africa. So you all work in diverse industries, from crypto to verification to property to media. What does that look like for Africa in terms of the next big thing for Africa, and how can we invite people into the different industries that you all participate in to sort of lead that conversation?
Okay, since I have the mic, I'll just quickly. I mean, so for us at Smile ID, we are behind the scenes. So as everyone grows, we grow. Because we're basically just an enabler. So we enable trust. And so as these rails are opening up, we are just building the identity rails behind the scenes. So we typically say that we go where our partners go. Like I told the experience of Zambia National ID, we had a partner that came online and said, look, we want to onboard people in Zambia. We had to go and figure it out on their behalf, right? So I think identity will still be very important. Identity is shifting from just, I would say one-to-one checks where I prove who I am today. We're moving more to a space where we're seeing a lot more activity around authentication, because looking at the economic realities, there's a lot of, I say people are willing to sell their identity credentials. So it's important that we're then doing more what we call authentication. So I transact today, I come back to transact in 3 months, confirm that it's the same person, because sometimes people literally sell all their credentials to someone else. They'll tell them that, you know, for 5K, they'll take your BVN, NI, and create an account on whatever app and conduct fraudulent transactions. And then built on top of that is we're seeing a trend of people then leveraging AI to do a lot of these fraudulent activities. So I think for people to stay ahead, you sort of need to follow the trends of where things are going with AI. It's super, super important. You might not be actively building solutions leveraging AI, but you can't be ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So my answer is going to be a little bit biased. Because to answer your question, what is the next big thing? PropTech. Surprise, surprise. But on a serious note, I honestly believe, I know that you've spoken about, but I'll tell you for why I think that PropTech is the next big thing. First of all, we live in a world where there's a lot of interaction between different countries, right? We've spoken about trade, but even in terms of the way people live, people are a lot more mobile. You have people that, especially with the rise in remote work and things like that, some people are now open to, you know, work anywhere and live anywhere. So there's definitely a demand or a growth in wanting to spend 4 weeks or a month in South Africa, you know, do a bit of a, you know, go from South Africa to Rwanda to Kenya. and just experience life while you're living life, you know. And as the world is becoming, or especially the continent is becoming more of a village where you are experiencing, you know, different parts of the world, then you want to be able to live and, you know, and with that, one of the biggest, everyone needs somewhere to live. Everyone needs shelter, everyone needs a roof over their head. So essentially what I'm saying is, if we can aggregate that and give people the opportunity to be able to sit in one place, log on to a website where you can choose to be in Kenya from January to February and then move to Rwanda, February, you know, March to April, that sort of thing. And we're capturing those, you know, transactions. That goes through a platform. It gives you the ability to be fluid and be mobile. It really is a new wave, you know. And I think because of things that have been built and the infrastructure that is being built today, where I can verify, you know, people, I can, you know, I can capture those payments. I can, you know, someone puts their card details and I can, you know, they will charge in their local currency and I can get settled because of the backbone that is being built in other industries. It enables people like us to then do different things. And even, I mean, even when you look at transactions, so rent transactions that happen in Nigeria, last year, the total real estate transactions that happened was about $236 million. That was last year. I mean, December alone, the short-let bookings, I think everyone saw the number, it was about $13 million. That's how much transactions were done in terms of short-let bookings in the month of December alone. With you know, I just got backs coming through. So there's a lot of fluidity and money flowing in the real estate industry. Earlier this year, we saw that after agriculture, the next biggest sector is, you know, real estate and housing. So there's a lot of growth that is happening, and I believe that, you know, the industry and organizations that are capturing the value that is being built in the real estate industry and leveraging technology to be able to grow it, and giving people access to it through technology, I think they will see a real benefit and real growth if they're able to build the product to fit what it is that is needed.
Thank you so much, Daniella. And you know, you just painted a picture there that really connects to why we're having an Fincra Connect. You know, you spoke about how your solution would rely on being able to authenticate tenants and being able to collect payments from anywhere. And I'm just like, you see right there was a Spleet ID, Fincra, you know, situation.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Thank you so much. Please, let's hear from Debbie.
You can put it if you go through.
In the back, yeah, exactly.
Right there.
So the next big thing, I would say from my perspective, is that my industry is finally looking for women. And I've been in the industry for 10 years, so it's so amazing to see. And that's why last year we created an initiative called Furo for Girls Africa, because we realized that most NGOs here are focused on girls playing the actual sport, that there's no one really focusing on careers, journalism, photography, makeup, medicine. So the next big thing is that women are going to have a seat at the table, and it's very exciting. It's a very exciting time. Yes. Yesterday there was an announcement. A woman from Zimbabwe, I believe, became the president of the IOC after 30 years. So the IOC is the International Olympic Committee. This is an African woman. Wow. So they're looking for us, and we'll be ready.
Wow. That was quite ready. We will be ready. I was so excited. Thank you so much, Debbie. I feel so charged. Thank you so much. Please, let's hear from you.
All right, so
Yes.
Yes.
all right, so this is something that we're already seeing behind the scenes, right? Cross-border payments, cross-border transactions, bringing the world, removing the gaps, the hurdles, right, and connecting everybody from different parts of the world together. And I think that would be the next big thing in the Web3 space, especially around finance, right? So more utility coming to crypto, stable coins, right? Primarily ensuring that people can, in just seconds, send money to somebody. Okay. In just seconds, send money to somebody anywhere in the world, and then the person will receive it, right? So I think that's the next big thing. And where Fincra comes in is the fact that for most of us, our closest economic to receive our fiat currency in Nigeria, that would be Naira. In Ghana, that would be Ghanaian cedis, right? And so there needs to be like an infrastructure that allows people to quickly on-ramp their local currency to Web3 platforms, in order to take advantage of the opportunities that exist there. So yeah, I do think Fincra, and other similar products have a huge role to play, because fiat currencies are still like a big deal in the world today.
Right, thank you so much, Daniela. So, okay. So, Daniela, my next question is for you, and it's a bit more to your sector, right? And how do you, you're a leader in the prop tech space. How do you balance the local realities? You've spoken a bit towards that, with scalability and attracting global investors?
It's tough. It's tough. But one of the things that I will say is important in trying to and I think we alluded or we spoke about it before, it was about building for your business, build for the market you're in, understand your market and solve the problems, like real problems. I think sometimes as founders or leaders, we think it should work in a certain way. So we see a problem and we conceptualize what we think should work, and then we build for it. And we're just like, you go off and you just build for it. And when you actually test it out, you realize that it doesn't work in the way you expected it to work, right? So I think it's important for you to understand local information, local market, build, but also listen to what the market is saying. Be agile, be ready to pivot if necessary. One thing I'm always telling my team is that, things can move very quickly. And we can say that this is the direction we're going in, but then as we are releasing and we're testing the market, we realize that, there needs to be a little bit of a tinker and a tweak here. So be ready for many iterations. It's not, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is get to a goal, right? The mission for us is seamless renting. Simplify the process of renting, right? So if that's the goal, like that proverb says, there are many ways to the market. So we can decide that we're going to start here and go left and realize, okay, no, it's actually better if we do this. So be agile, be ready to change, pivot, listen to what your consumers are saying, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to use and buy your product, whatever it is that you're selling. So be ready to sit down, absorb the information, and do that. And the truth is, numbers because your second part of the question was about how do you attract external investors. They just want to see traction. That's the bottom line for them. They just want to see that what you're building is scalable. And once you are proving, if you're answering the problem, the real problem, you're giving solutions to it, you will see traction. And if you're seeing traction, then the investors will be like, okay, this thing makes sense. This thing you're doing, because there's workings, show your workings. Because there's workings, it's something I can actually invest in. So yeah, make sure you're just answering the real questions.
Thank you so much, Daniela. Please, let's have Debbie. All right, Debbie, you're running a legacy business, and I found your journey really fascinating, right? Even before we came to this conversation. And you're in a male-dominated space where I'm sure most of your colleagues, or when you get into conversations with authorities, you must feel like, just a single person right there, but you're leading both a legacy business as well as thriving in a male-dominated area, right? So my question to you would be, what has it taken to innovate and grow in such a space? And the part two, which sort of piggybacks over something your opening remark was on someone making a statement about AFCON, right? How do you see African media reshaping the narrative around Africa and particularly African businesses? So how can the media support and take the reins and determine what the narrative is concerning our businesses that would, grow investors, grow interest, and even grow the participation of Africans in businesses around here?
So let me take the last part first. From the media side of things, we have to be ready to do the long walk, which is what a lot of journalists, influencers don't want. We want easy clicks, we want controversy, goes viral, Twitter pays you, get your dollars, everybody's fine. But we don't realize that we're leaving footprints, that is affecting the ecosystem. So you're good as an individual, but in the long run, in 5 years, in 10 years, it comes back to bite us as Africans. And what she was saying about crypto, when you're talking about it, I was just thinking of how the truth is what I know about crypto is what I see in the media, So we need to do better in terms of, and we also need to be better behaved as Africans.
100%.
We have to, because I remember Russia World Cup. Some Africans had gone there, Nigerians to be specific, and they started seeking asylum. What does World Cup have to do with, So the truth is, we also have to behave better so that it doesn't now look like the media is constantly looking away from our bad behavior, So we have to behave better when we're doing excellent things as well. The truth is that positive news does not sell. When as a media house we're celebrating good things, because you'll be looking at the phone like, where are all the colors? Once you start insulting one thing in football, your phone lines will be beeping, your followers will increase, and that's why people that are just starting out in the industry, they want to go that route because it's easy, So I guess in some ways everybody behave better, so we'll have news that we can share on the positive light. And then the first part, which is my journey in a male-dominated field, is I cry a lot, honestly. It takes a lot of, I do. It takes a lot of resilience. I also realized that you cannot really care what people say. You have to be again, it goes back to your purpose, your why. Why are you doing this? Why did you join this company? Why did you join this business? A lot of women have realized this month, in just sitting down in different rooms, is that women in male-dominated fields, just like myself, we stumbled into the industry. And unfortunately, the men, and I see a few of them, I'm not shading people or anything involved, the men thought out their journey from the beginning. But a lot of us, when we stumble into it, there's no plan. So I guess now that I have a plan, I want to share that have a plan for your life, have a plan for your professional journey, because it helps you make calculated decisions. As women, we don't like to play in the things that make us grow in the industry. We don't want to play in politics because, I'm not interested. We don't want to play, there are so many things that, the truth is, business is not black or white. There are many gray areas, yellow, orange, purple. The middle is even where growth is. And I find that in that middle, we don't have enough women that want to play in that middle. Most times we're waiting for people to give us a seat at the table. I don't wait alone. I realize in my career, some of the things that I read in my bio are very interesting because I'm not afraid to ask. Humility, I don't know if you can speak PG in this Fincra because humility won't wound me. I'm very humble. I will ask for that opportunity if I know that it ties into my 5-year goal. Because in 5 years, who's going to care? The person will probably have retired. But I've asked for the opportunity. They put it in my bio. I've put happy to announce. I'm good. I realize that it's the little things that make the big wins. I didn't get here by just knowing something. I got here because of the little things, the day-to-day. In short, it's the Monday to Friday that makes the announcement. So I want to encourage us that the little things, be very humble. You've not arrived. Do you know that as I'm here now, I'm part of Arm Wrestling Federation? what's my business with arm wrestling? But I'm part of it because I know that arm wrestling federation, I'll probably meet somebody that will know somebody that will know somebody that might one day take me to FIFA, CAF. But I have my long-term plan. A lot of women don't. So what is your long-term plan? It's not even about being a legacy business. It's not even about being a woman in business. It's about you as an individual. What do you want to achieve? And then take it from there. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Ebube. Thank you so much. I'm really curious about that arm wrestling. I did not know it was a organized sport. So many questions, but we'll talk after. Thank you so much for that. So let's hear from Furo, right? And Furo, tech is typically considered a boys' club, and you have grown a career through different parts or different times you've worked in tech, right? So what advice would you give a young woman that's looking to build a career in tech? And yours has been interesting, from banking to supporting, businesses, entrepreneurship, to playing fully in the tech space, right? So what would that look like? I think a lot of people just have a very narrow view of what it looks and feels like to grow a career. And Debbie just spoke to us about having a plan. So a lot of people don't have enough context to build that plan. So what does it look like to build a career in a male-dominated space?
Okay, so I think first things first, if there was anything I wish someone told me much earlier in my career is build relationships. And it could be the most random relationships. So from when I was a graduate trainee to when I was factoring my NYSC, I still maintain relationships from, tell your own story. It's not bragging, it is literally advocating for yourself so that the day somebody has an opportunity, you remember, there was this girl I spoke to that day at whatever place, and then they will call you. And that's how, opportunities come your way. I'd say the final thing for me would be leverage the men in your life. Honestly, like my male friendships and also like my husband, whenever I have to negotiate any contracts, I go to them first. Because when I talk to women, we're too humble. We don't want to ask. We don't want to, like, when I'll literally put down a number, they tell me it's 4x. I'm like, 4x, they're like, yes, 4x, start there. You can negotiate and come back downward. So leverage the men in your life. They have some audacity that I do not, I do not understand, right? So leverage the men in your life, because I'll be very honest, like my guy friendships have taken me very far as well. So as much as I have my female friends, I do have my male friends and colleagues that I will not be where I am today in my career without them, because they challenge me in ways that, they're just audacious. Like they walk into rooms and the things they're saying. I remember, in fact, there's an example I always give. I was early in my career, we're having performance review conversations. I was shaking and thinking, oh, what have I done this year? How am I going to, and I just randomly spoke to one of my guys. I'm like, hey, how are you preparing for this thing? He said, me, I'm entering, and I want to ask them for salary increase. I was like, salary increase? I was like, I'm trying to prove that I've worked this year so I keep the job. And you that came into the team after me, and I have been teaching, you want to go in and ask for salary increase? So myself, I went back and I told my boss, hey, see, it's 1 year, it's time for salary increase. So it's very important that you leverage the men in your life as well, because let the audacity rub off on you. Yeah. Because I don't know where to get it from.
Thank you so much, Furo. Please do you get that salary increase?
Yes.
So in summary, take a bit from men's audacity.
Yes.
There's a place where it works. Second is work hard and a little nepotism on the side, just to leverage you in. But thank you so much. That was so insightful. Ebube, over to you. So you're a woman in product leadership. What has been the most surprising or challenging aspect of driving innovation in the African crypto space? Tell us stories.
Wow. so many challenges. I think one of the primary ones, something that we've spoken about here, the regulatory hurdle around crypto, because crypto generally has a not so good image in the media and even in the minds of so many people, to be honest. I'm sure a lot of us have a not so good perception of crypto. You know, there are lots of scams where you go and lose money, like betting, like gambling, all of those perceptions. And then you now have like the government clamping down, and then even in this part of the world, particularly Africa and Nigeria, there's not, like, the regulation is not very clear. So it's like you're building a product or you're taking a lot of risk, right? So I always tell people that crypto is high risk investment. Building a career in crypto is high, like you're literally placing a bet, a huge bet, you know, so, with everything, right? But like, you can only go so far in life if you don't take risks, right? So I think as something that I've learned in my life in general and as a life principle is that I try to take calculated risks. You know, what are the upsides? Of course, there's a chance that this all falls apart, but what if you succeed? Do you understand? And the thing about high risk things is that the upsides are usually higher than lower risk investments. So, my challenge is right. Yeah, it's the most surprising thing. Yeah, so the regulation, very, very challenging. And then secondly, another very challenging thing is the fact that they are seasoned in this industry. It's not like normal fintech, you know, where things are pretty stable. In Web3, things are not stable. So we have something called the bear market and the bull market. So the bear market is when the prices of crypto are very low. I think 2 years ago, the price of Bitcoin went to like 16K or 21K from over 50K, right? So we have seasons like that, and it just comes like a thief in the night. It just happens like a dream. One time you're in the bull market, and before you know it, you've woken up in the bear market. And we always say in the crypto space that your bull market strategy is very different from your bear market strategy. And in the bull market, you prepare for the bear market. In the bear market, you build for the bull market, right? So I think that has been that's one of the toughest things about working in this industry, because building in the bear market, nobody believes in the industry. When you say, oh, I work in crypto, they're like, oh, okay, that's a failure. You know, but in the bull market, all of a sudden, everybody's a believer, everybody's launching a meme coin, everybody's investing in crypto, and people are happy to associate with you, right? So I think that's also one of the toughest things, because you have to live through the bull market, you have to be a believer in the toughest times when nobody believes in the industry, and you have to keep building, because you see a future that 90% of people don't see, right? So you have to be crazy to work in Web3. You have to be crazy to be a product person in Web3. Yeah, so.
Thank you so much, Ebube. I got a moment of confusion there, because I was like, there's so many new names, so many new terms. I just understood
sorry about that.
Then,
So in Web3 space, there are a lot of terms, so sometimes I can get pretty blindsided, because, you know, I live in it every day.
Love it for you. Thank you so much. So I'm going to have, we're coming to the end of this, and I have 2 rapid fire sessions, right? And the first is going to be, if you had to give one piece of advice, to a young African woman looking to build and scale impactful businesses, what would it be? So let's start from Debbie, Daniella, Furo, and then Ebube. So one advice to an African woman who wants to build for Africa.
Oh, took my own.
Well, yeah, you have time. You can
People, yeah. You want to explain it? I'll say it.
No, I'll do another one. Explain. I'll do another one.
Yeah, it's just, you have to be bold. That's it. The truth is, most people that started business, they didn't know for certain I was going to blow or going to really, scale or be the next big thing. Everything is just, most times, it's trial and error. You understand? So you need to do your own trial and error. Honestly, that's it. So just be bold. Take that step. Don't overthink things. There's no amount of research you can do, no amount of schools you would go to. I know this for a fact because I've gone to many schools. Nigerian business terrain they don't teach you in Harvard, MIT, nowhere. So just start, and then if it doesn't also work, you close it. Send to everybody that thanks and God bless, I'm not doing this again. And don't be afraid to start over. I always tell my friends that today I'm in sports, tomorrow I might be in baking, and I'm going to sell my cake. All of you are going to have to buy it, you know? So don't be ashamed of reinventing yourself. See what people will see. I started a new business, and hey, are you buying or not? You know? So, yeah.
Thank you, Debbie.
Since Debbie took my own points, I'm
Wow.
joking. I'm joking. But I definitely agree. Boldness is so important. I think I'll give you another one, but I'll also speak. One of the things she said that I'll also touch on. I think sometimes as women, we want to make sure it's perfect before we push it out. There's this idea that let me make sure that I've crossed all my I's and dotted all my T's. There's, for example, I think even in applying for jobs, for example, a woman wants to make sure she can do at least 70% of whatever the JD is requiring of her. But a man can have 20% and he goes in with all the boldness. Is the audacity for me? And so it is so important to believe in yourself and be bold and say, do you know what? I don't have it all figured out, because like you said, it's trial and error. There is a bit of testing and learning from it. You test, you learn, and you're refining the way you're thinking about it, the way you're building, the way you're mapping things out. Your roadmap gets clearer as you move forward. But you need to take that step forward first. If you don't take the step forward, you're forever just trying to articulate. It's just an idea. It's just an idea formulating in your mind. But if you don't execute, there's nothing there. So that's her point. My point is, actually, you've mentioned it as well. Leverage on your network. Like, I think men do this very naturally, where, you know, they'll play football with their guys on a Tuesday, they'll go to Ikoyi club on a Friday, and so naturally they're just discussing business. You know, we're playing football at the end, they'll sit down, they'll be tired, drinking water, they'll be like, that guy, that final, and before you know it, business has happened, money is made. I don't find that women do it as well. They don't leverage, sorry? Yeah, like we don't do it. We don't sit down and say, how can your business help my business? How can we grow together? How can we align in this sector or in this industry and to grow? How can your effort become combined efforts to go further? Like, it is so important. Key into the people around you. Key into, go to events where they're networking, where they're speaking, where they're engaging. Go there, speak to them. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be humble, as Debbie has said. Be humble and say, listen, I beg, like, come and help me. I know that you're an expert in this. How can you help me grow what I'm trying to do? Your network is your network. Your network is your network. Yeah, you know what I mean. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Daniella.
Okay, so I would say be customer obsessed. Because the customer is at the core of everything that you do, or your audience is at the core of everything that you do. And so ensuring that they stay centered and focused in everything that you do is very important. As you're building, you will not have everything ready from day one, but you need to find the best path to get your customers from where they are to where you need them to be, and just continue to iterate, like Daniella has said. Once you lose sight of the customer, you've lost sight of everything. So I would say definitely be customer obsessed, but then also follow the data. Don't just follow sentiments. Follow the data, follow the numbers. If they're not paying for a pain point, it's probably not a valid pain point, right? So be customer obsessed, but then make sure that you're backing your instinct or your gut feeling with data as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much for.
Okay, so two things, right? I think number one would be resilience for me. Just being the person that doesn't give up, right? And giving it your best, showing up every day because you have a goal in mind. As she mentioned, having a plan for your career, having a plan for your life, and just showing up literally and being resilient in the face of challenges. super important. And then secondly, is having a spirit of excellence. Having a spirit of excellence when it comes to your work, even if it's preparing a document, even if it's, because all these things contribute to how people perceive you across the company and even outside the company. So excellence, when you build products, whatever your role is, if you're talking to customers, like just having a spirit of excellence makes you stand out, and even if there are people around you that are slacking, having that personal principle to hold yourself to a high bar of excellence is super, super important.
Thank you so much, Ebube. This has been really good. We have one more thing to do when then we come to the end of this. But I'm a proud of Fincra. I work at Fincra, and Fincra is going to change the world, starting with Africa. I'm very confident about that. And some of the validity of that, you spoke about humility, and humility is a core value here at Fincra. One of the behaviors we encourage is that be humble and love to learn. And it takes humility to learn, and it takes humility to put yourself in, knowing that I may not be qualified, but I'm happy to do the work. You spoke about customer obsession, and we are obsessed with our customers here. We are in love with our customers, and it's one of the strong foundations with which we build our products. And you spoke about excellence, and excellence is a core value here. We believe in putting in the best to be able to get out the best. So I'm proud to work with Fincra, and I'm really glad that we have had you guys here to continue to collaborate and connect towards the Africa that we desire. So the last bit, right, is a phrase each of you is going to complete. And the phrase is, the future of Africa will be built by women who, and then you complete that phrase. So you're going to get the mic, and you're going to say, the future of Africa will be built by women who, add your last line. Are we good? Mm-hmm. All right.
If we start, can go first.
Okay, so the future of Africa will be built by women who are resilient.
The future of Africa will be built by women who are audacious.
The future of Africa will be built by women who take up space.
Give us.
The future of Africa will be built by women who read.
And I will end by saying that the future of Africa will be built by women who love Africa. Thank you so much. And I am going to hand over now to Uyo.
Wasn't that amazing? Don't stop clapping. My bad, I was so excited. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. That was amazing, wasn't it? Yeah. Another round of applause, please. All right. Big thank you to our panelists for such an insightful session. I learned a lot. I'm sure they all learned something too. And an amazing shout out to our moderator, Ellen. That was so wonderful. All right. The conversation doesn't stop here. We have some questions from our online audience for the speakers. If you don't mind, I'm going to read them out. So someone says, many startups in Africa struggle with funding and scaling. What practical advice would you give to female entrepreneurs looking to secure investment and grow sustainability? I believe that question will be answered by Daniella.
Okay, so what advice would I give to women who are looking to grow their startups?
Yes.
With regards to raising money?
Yes, securing investment.
I think I kind of alluded to it in one of the things I said, because the truth about it is investors want to see traction. They want to see that what you're building makes sense, has product market fit, and there's traction. There's a demand for it in the market. So if you can prove that, and you can show that this thing, this whatever I'm building, this product I'm selling, this idea I have, there's a market size for it, and I can scale it. The process of scaling it as well, and you can see the traction and see the route. They're more likely going to invest. There was another thing you said in the question as well.
Grow sustainably.
How do they go to? Yeah. So you then have to think about, okay, once you've answered the question, the problem, you've solved it, you then have to put frameworks in place so that it is scalable. The template has to be created. There are lots of gaps, infrastructure gaps that exist in our market. When we started the business, we thought we were going to go in one way, but then we realized that we had to open up different arms of the business to support what we were trying to do. We ended up opening a facility management arm because we were saying, okay, if we're renting, but these properties that the landlords are giving us, they're run down, there's issues with, the fittings and things like that. We then said, I then was like, okay, let's open this facility management arm to be able to support us in trying to give our customers a decent enough experience in renting from us. So there's a lot of solving for sub-questions that you'll be answering in solving for the initial one. So yeah, like make sure you're ready for that. Make sure you're proving the work, you're scaling, you're thinking about traction, you're thinking about the customer, being customer focused. And once you see those numbers increase, it kind of speaks for itself. Execution, it will just speak for itself.
Thank you so much, Daniella. A round of applause, please. So I have a question for Debbie here, and it says, sports media is evolving rapidly, and audience engagement is shifting to digital. What role do you see digital platforms playing in shaping the future of African media?
That's already happening. So talk about digital and safe future. For me, it's not aligning in my mind because right now digital is a huge part of sports media. Right now, I don't know if people know, but there's a World Cup qualifier going on, so that's why I'm getting a bit distracted. But I'm able to follow it because of digital. So I'm on this panel and I apologize because I'm casting myself, but I'm able to follow it because of digital. So as opposed to traditional media where you have to be at a certain place to follow what is happening or wait for the journalists to break the news. Digital is good because it comes to you. Digital is already here.
Digital is here to stay. Awesome. A round of applause for her, please. I have a question for Furo. This person says, trust in digital identity verification is still a challenge in some African markets. How do you build consumer confidence while ensuring security?
So I think for the businesses that leverage Smile ID, I think what's important is building trust in terms of your users should be confident in the fact that you are building according to regulation. Their funds are secure with you, their data is secure with you. So it's a matter of just ensuring that people's information stays secure within your system. It's also understanding that trust is not a default. You have to earn it. So you have to consistently prove to be a trustworthy organization for your users to trust in what you're doing. Yeah.
Round of applause, please. So final question from our online audience is for Ebube. So this person says crypto is still misunderstood by many. What do you think is the biggest myth about crypto adoption in Africa?
So I think the biggest myth is the fact that a lot of people believe that crypto is like a get-rich-quick scheme, like gambling or betting. And what I'll say is that there is a part of crypto that is like that, to have been very honest. Meme coins, like Dex Screener is a very, very common place for you to find coins like that. Not pyramid schemes, but Ponzi schemes, right? So you're going to invest in a coin, there's a rock pool, and all your money is gone. So rock pool means when you invest in a coin and then developers that launch that coin sell and take, like, suck out all the money in the that has been invested, right? And that happens a lot in the crypto space, right? And that's how a lot of people lose money. So and of course, bad news spreads, right? So a lot of people now go on Twitter and complain, oh, they lost money on this coin, they lost money on that coin. People don't come into the Web3 space they don't take the time to learn, they don't take the time to educate themselves, they follow other people, they follow a lot of influencers. You know, if somebody is coming and telling you that they'll show you how to make money, there's a high chance you're the source of income, right? So you have to be very careful when people are promising you all those outrageous gains, right? Returns. You have to be extremely careful. Do your research. Download CoinMarketCap. Look into the top 20, top 15 coins. Take time to research. You can use YouTube, right? There's something called the white paper. I don't want to start going into all the details, right? Okay, because time is very short. But do your research. Take time to read. Take time to research the coin, and then invest an amount that, if you see minus 20%, minus 30%, minus 40%, it will not keep you overnight. Why? Because you know that you invested in a solid asset that's going to give you returns over time, right? So you have to have a more mid to long term approach to investing in crypto, and then when it gets to that price that you have in mind, sell and don't let greed, because greed in emotion in the crypto space, emotions are like your worst enemy. There's something we have called the fear and greed index, right, in crypto, where it's literally like a beta that shows you the general emotions of people. Yeah, so emotions, greed and fear are literally your worst enemies. So when there's profit and all of that, sell. And when there's fear, when you feel fear because of the price, that's the best time to invest, okay? So yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone. A round of applause for our wonderful speakers. That was so awesome. So we're bringing this to an end. We don't have time to take questions from the audience. If you have any questions for the speakers, we'll share a form with you and we'll ask them on your behalf much later. All right. So we're about to start networking and mixing. The conversation doesn't stop here. Find somebody, leverage, build a relationship, and continue to leverage on it, like our speakers advised us to.